Welcome back, demigods, monsters, and gods alike, to the Olympus Report. Hearthstone is a tall, pale elf with short, spiky, pale blonde hair and pale gray eyes. He wears a black leather jacket, black motorcycle pants, and pointy-toed shoes, and a red and white striped scarf given to him by Blitzen, who said he needed more color. After losing the said scarf in the Ship of the Dead, Alex Fierro gives him a pink and green scarf as a replacement. Hearth is a very loyal friend and has risked his own life multiple times to save both Magnus and Blitzen. He is shown to have a dry and self-deprecating sense of humor, which he often exercises when annoyed or happy. He is guarded with his own emotions, as he is constantly downtrodden and ridiculed by his father and the elves around him due to his inability to hear, as elves cannot tolerate imperfections. But being surrounded by people like Magnus and Blitzen who appreciate his talents and emphasize with his weaknesses, Hearthstone's self-confidence grows and he learns to love himself. But why was his self-confidence so bad to begin with? Well, let's talk a little bit about his backstory. Hearthstone Alderman, otherwise known as Hearth, is an elf and was born in Alfheim and was rejected by his parents because of his deafness. His father refused to use ASL even though he knew it, making Hearth write down on a tablet, degrading him. When he was 8, his brother Anderon was killed by a Brumigi, a shapeshifter that lives in wells. He couldn't hear his brother due to his deafness. Their father then killed the beast but made Hearthstone skin it. They placed the pelt in his room as a reminder to pay his brother's Weirgild, a debt that must be paid to the deceased. His parents said Anderon should have lived while Hearth should have died. They placed dry erase boards in his room for chores and rewards. Chores were to be completed for a small amount of gold, while rewards such as food cost a large amount of gold. His Weirgild would only be paid once the rug was completely covered in said gold. Hearth, having had enough, would eventually flee his home in hopes of learning magic. Unfortunately, this brought shame to his family and his mother would eventually die because of it, just adding to Hearth's guilt. Before leaving, Hearthstone placed the Othala rune on his brother's gravesite, the runestone meaning inheritance. Hearthstone felt he had no right to use this runestone as long as he still blamed himself for his brother's death. But this meant that his runestones would always be incomplete. While trying to practice rune magic, Hearthstone accidentally landed in Nidavellir. Since elves can only be in light and Nidavellir is constantly in darkness, he could have died, but was saved by Blitzen by building Hearth a tanning bed in his home. Hearth and Blitz then seek out the help of the god Myrmir. If you drink from the god's well, you will be granted knowledge you seek. But this knowledge comes with a price. You are under the god's servitude until Myrmir deems your price has been paid. When Hearth drank from Myrmir's well, he was given 2 choices. One was to gain the ability to hear and be accepted, and the other was to stay deaf and practice magic. Hearthstone ultimately chose to practice magic, becoming one of the first elves to learn magic in thousands of years. While under Myrmir's service, he was tasked along with Blitzen to watch over Magnus. He took the day shifts as he needed light to survive, while Blitz took the night, living on the streets and keeping Magnus safe. Well, they tried to. Magnus actually ended up dying, but was sent to Valhalla where he became an inheritee. Hearth and Blitz eventually track him down by climbing the World Tree. Hearth then helps Magnus find the Sword of Summer and defeat Surt. As a thank you, Odin offers to teach Hearth rune magic and grants him access to the 9 worlds, as well as releasing him from Myrmir's control. Hearth would then help Magnus recover Mjolnir, the Hammer of Thor, but not before almost losing Blitzen and saving him by once again facing his father and completing his Weirgild. But this came at a price. Mr. Alderman is consumed by the greed of a ring that Hearth used to cover the rug. Hearth would eventually come back to face his father, who has now been transformed into a ring dragon. Hearth tries desperately to save his father, trying to reason with him and even going as far as to reclaim the Othala rune and summon the spirit of his dead brother. But ultimately, with the help of Blitz and Magnus, and of course Jack, they need to kill the beast. Hearth says goodbye to his brother, and Anderon tells Hearth that the day he died, he wished to be as kind as Hearthstone. Hearth would eventually go on to help Magnus defeat Loki and save the 9 worlds from Ragnarok. Hearth is incredibly crafty and smart, learning abilities to help him out. Alf Sign Language. Hearthstone is able to communicate via Alf Sign Language. It also happens to be the same as American Sign Language. Lip reading. Being deaf, Hearth now has learned the ability to read lips. Pinball skills. Hearth is extremely talented when it comes to pinball. Deafness/autokinetic immunity. While Hearthstone cannot hear, his lack of hearing gives him an immunity to sound-based attacks. But Hearth's real abilities lie within his magic. Rune magic. Hearth is proficient at rune magic, having been taught to use this power by Odin himself. With his runes, he can bend the very fabric of the universe, make time slow down, invoke destructive forces, or make himself stronger. Pyrokinesis. Using the rune of Loki and Surt, Hearthstone can summon fire. Heat generation spell. He can generate a small flame to warm others. Claudiokinesis. He can unlock any door. Prophecy. Hearthstone, after training with Odin, can use runes to see others' futures. Teleportation. He has a rune that can teleport him and others to other worlds. Atmokinesis. Using certain runes, Hearthstone can manipulate the weather. Hailstorm conjuration. Hearthstone can conjure a hailstorm. Food conjuration. Hearthstone is able to conjure up food for his friends with the gift rune. Hydrokinesis. Hearthstone can control and manipulate water. To help him out along the way, he also has several items as well. Runestones. Hearth uses runestones to cast spells. Rowan wooded runes, given to him by Seath. Their magic is easier to use than his regular stones and more powerful. Staff. When Mimir told Hearthstone that he was a master of Alf Sadir, he was given a white oak 2-pronged staff, which now holds the rune most meaningful to him. Othala. Hearthstone's hero moment came in Book 3 when he finally reclaimed the Othala rune, finally accepting that his brother's death was not his fault, and all the things his father had told him his entire life, like being worthless, was also not true. Hearthstone isn't worthless, isn't damaged, and isn't a disgrace to his family. By reclaiming the rune, Hearth was able to heal and put the past behind him, finally accepting himself as worthy. Something that sounds easy but is not. Forgiving yourself is one of the hardest things anyone can ever do. Without the rune, Hearth would not have been able to defeat his father and put his soul to rest, and Magnus would not have been able to defeat Loki. Hearthstone shows us that true strength comes from within, to never give up on yourself. We should all be a little bit more like Hearthstone. Did I leave anything out about this magic-wielding elf? Let me know down in the comments below. But until next time, I'm signing off, and as always, please remember to stay safe.